Hi, my name is Taryn Pizer. I am the majority shareholder, chairman, and CEO of BioVie. And BioVie is pioneering therapies for patients suffering from advanced liver cirrhosis. I got involved in the company because a gentleman on the board, Kong Do, who is the chief strategic officer at Merck, who now is president of Samsung's $100 billion effort to invest in biologics, brought this to me, and he invested his own money in it and thought I might be interested. I did a year's due diligence, and what I found, and I'll talk more about in a second, was the greatest reward per dollar of risk in my investment career. What was interesting to me about it is our drug, terlipressin, which is used to treat refractory ascites, is used around the world to treat two other end-stage liver diseases. That's what refractory ascites is, something called HRS, hepatorenal syndrome, and BEV, bioesophageal varices. Those are even further down the road, a very small market, but there's nothing approved in the US or Japan to treat refractory ascites because terlipressin no one has ever taken it through. So we are taking it through the FDA. The alternative is pretty much either you get a liver transplant because you suffer from cirrhosis of the liver and you're at the end stage and you're on the list to get a liver transplant, if you're lucky to get a liver transplant, or to keep you alive long enough to when you can. There is no treatment approved that reverses the ascites. Terlipressin used in a continuous infusion pump with a pre-filled syringe reverses the ascites, doesn't treat the symptoms. There's something out there called paracentesis that treats the side effect of an ascites is the buildup of fluid in the abdomen, 5, 10, 15, 20 liters of fluid in the abdomen. And the existing standard of care paracentesis in Japan and the US is crude. It's a crude withdrawal of the fluid. It's used in a hospital setting. Ours is used in the home. And it's very important, particularly obviously in today's environment where there aren't even hospital beds available. That said, so for me, it's a drug. It has a roughly 100,000 ascites patients in the country. There's 20,000 that have refractory ascites. We think it's a $500 million market in the US. The US, 20,000 in the US refractory ascites patients. There's roughly 10,000 in Japan, and there's roughly 30-something thousand in Europe. And we believe when we get the data from our phase 2b/3 pivotal study, and the FDA was very gracious in giving us I wouldn't even call them softball endpoints, I call them beach ball endpoints, giving us simple endpoints. Number one, significant reduction of ascites fluid. Well, there's been 4 other studies, and our phase 2 study showed a significant reduction in ascites fluid. That said, for the pivotal study, we only need a 30% response rate, and that includes a 5% placebo rate. Now, there's no placebo response when you're talking about a physiological buildup of fluid and a physiological removal of fluid. So effectively, we only need a 25% response rate. Now, when I look at this is why I think it's the best opportunity I've seen in my investment career is because, number one, I look at everything on a risk-reward basis. I look at the risk. Risk of successful study. Well, every study has shown a dramatic response rate, and we need a very little response rate. So I'd say the risk of the study not being what we want it to be is very minimal. In fact, it's probably the lowest I've ever seen in any clinical study. I've been around biotech for over 20, 25 years. Number one. Number two, the chances of FDA approval. Well, so the 2 primary endpoints to review, one, significant reduction of ascites fluid. And the secondary primary endpoint is time to next paracentesis. Well, by definition, if you're significantly reducing the amount of ascites fluid in the abdomen, you're increasing, by definition, the time required to the next paracentesis, and that's the standard of care in the US and Japan. So as we've seen in our phase 2 study, we significantly increased the time to next paracentesis. So those are the 2 primary, we'll call them beach ball endpoints. And then the secondary endpoint is patient-reported outcomes. Well, if something tells me that you're going to remove 5, 10, 15, 20 liters of fluid from the abdomen, you're going to have a better quality of life. So I believe that we'll have a successful study. I believe the FDA will approve this promptly because the alternative, in a crude sense, is life or death. They will approve this. It's a palatable treatment. It's at home. It'll increase patient life, enhance their chances of getting liver transplant. And anecdotally, we had some patients that were even taken off the liver transplant list because they went up to 12 months without on our program and not needing a liver transplant. That's not our study. That's a study for a later date. But getting back to the value proposition, we hope to file our NDA by the end of 2021, get approval in 2022, and then we'll start the clock in scaling and launching. We will go into other indications. We are going to go into other countries. So that's why I'm here. That's why I put up the money for the studies. That's why I am funding the company out of my pocket. And that's why I believe it's the best deal I've ever done.